What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we're going to be talking about supply drops in Call of Duty. We're going to first have a look at the history of supply drops in Call of Duty titles, and then I want to share my thoughts on what I feel will be the best system for supply drops in CoD World War II, assuming we are going to be seeing a supply drop system. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so this is one of those topics where it's not so much will there be supply drops in Call of Duty World War II, it's more so how will the supply drops be in Call of Duty World War II. It's kind of unfortunate that that's the way the industry is, but we just have to accept the fact that right now, that's how it is. Until we get more regulation on this, or until things change significantly, which takes time, there will be some sort of supply drop type system in Call of Duty World War II. Now, having said this, there hasn't been any confirmation of supply drops, and there hasn't been any hints as to how they're going to have their supply drop system, but to think that there won't be any sort of supply drop-like system in this game would be foolish. This type of system makes literally billions of dollars for Activision, and it's not something they're just going to throw away because that's what the fans want. Having said this, they have been pushing things in the right direction in my opinion with the most recent Call of Duties, and I wanted to discuss my thoughts and my opinions for how they could have the supply drop system in this upcoming Call of Duty title. So looking back at supply drops in Call of Duty, we started off with Advanced Warfare. Now with Advanced Warfare, they had weapon variants, and a lot of these weapon variants completely changed the guns. They basically took a terrible base weapon, and they could turn that into a top tier gun. This is where they got a lot of criticism on that supply drop system. There were some guns that were supply drop only guns that were clearly outclassing every other gun in the game. And it was quite frustrating because the only way to get those was through supply drops for most of the life cycle of the game. Now, eventually they added extra prestiges like Master Prestige ranks, and with those you could unlock a lot of these top tier variants. But for most of the life cycle, the only way to get these was through these supply drops. Now, some people have said that this system wasn't that bad because at least it felt like you were getting showered with loot when you're opening supply drops in Advanced Warfare. You would get a supply drop every 40 or so minutes of gameplay time, and in most of the crates that you would unlock, you would get at least some sort of a gun variant. Now, the chances of that being epic or a really good variant were pretty low, but at least you were getting variants fairly often. So that's what a lot of people were saying about that system. For me personally, I strongly dislike that system, and I stand behind that. I don't like the fact that statistically far superior weapons were completely locked behind a supply drop system. And looking back, there are still variants in that game that are considered to be top-tiered variants that I don't have, and I put tons and tons of time into that game. So that was Advanced Warfare system. Then let's skip forward to Black Ops 3. Black Ops 3 changed it up a little bit. They didn't have variants in their game, and for the first several months of their game, things were great because there were no weapons in there aside from melee weapons. And the melee weapons were no different than the combat knife in the game, they were just reskins. And I was totally fine with that system as well. I thought that was great. But it probably wasn't making them very much money because there wasn't much incentive for people to buy supply drops. That is, until they started adding actual guns. And with Black Ops 3, these guns were once again locked behind supply drops. There was no other way to unlock them. This encouraged people to spend a lot of money on supply drops in Black Ops 3, and I'm sure it made Activision tons and tons of money. But once again, it felt like they were really screwing over the consumer because there was absolutely no guaranteed way to get these weapons. And that was a bit of a slap in the face to the people that really play their game religiously and still don't have many or any of these guns at all. Now, just taking a look at the other side of this, at least a lot of these guns weren't statistically that great. For most of them, if you looked at their counterpart, the gun that they were most comparable to that was in the game for everybody, they usually had a little bit of a downside and were slightly worse than that gun that was already in the game. But in my mind, this doesn't forgive this type of system. You're completely locking away fresh content behind a luck wall, and it really sucks because that's a whole new gameplay experience that for a lot of people, they will never get to experience, and only the lucky few or the people that spend a ton of money will have access to. So out of all of the systems, I would say Black Ops 3 is absolutely my least favorite system, simply because you had entirely new guns. We're not talking variants or anything, we're talking entirely new guns that you could only get through luck. There was no other option, and I hope we never return to a system like this. Skipping forward to the next year, we have both Modern Warfare Remastered and Infinite Warfare. Let's start it off with Infinite Warfare, and whether you like the game or not, I realize this game isn't the most popular CoD title out there. They definitely took steps in the right direction with their supply drop system, and I would say it's arguably the best supply drop system we've seen so far. In Infinite Warfare, just in case you aren't aware, we once again have variants, and these variants generally have either very minimal upsize, we're talking like half an attachment or not even half of an attachment added onto the gun, or some quirky little improvement like slightly faster movement speed when you're crouching, something that's not actually going to be helping you in tons of situations, and even if it is, it's helping you just that little tiny bit, so it's not often going to make the difference between life and death in a gunfight. And on average, I would say with the variants in Infinite Warfare, of course there are exceptions, but on average, if you give one guy the base variant of a gun and the other guy any one of the variants of that same gun, the better player is going to come out on top. It's not too often that you see the variant actually making the difference between life and death in a gunfight. Now, of course, there are exceptions to this, but this is another thing that Infinite Warfare did, right? We have salvage. With our salvage that we get just by opening regular supply drops, just by playing the game, just by logging in with daily login bonuses, we start accumulating this salvage, and with salvage, we can craft pretty much any variant that we want. So even if there is a really good epic variant of a gun, you can generally just go out and craft it. Now, taking this one step further, when they add new guns to the game, we're not talking new variants, but completely new guns, everybody gets these guns for free. Now, Season Pass holders get them 100% automatically, it's just on their classes, but people without the Season Pass, all they have to do is complete an in-game challenge, and they get the gun for free. You don't have to get it luckily out of a supply drop, you don't have to drop a bunch of money on CoD points and open a bunch of supply drops and just cross your fingers hoping you'll get it. You just complete an in-game challenge, and it's yours. Now, yes, they lock the variants of these guns in the Quartermaster Collection, meaning if you want a variant of one of these guns, you do have to get lucky. But I would say this is a completely fair trade-off. You're still getting the base gun, and like I said earlier, most of the time, variants aren't going to make the difference between life and death in a gunfight. So overall, I feel like Infinite Warfare has so far done an excellent job with their supply drop system, and I would say you definitely gotta give them props for that. And finally, let's move on to Modern Warfare Remastered. Now, you'll have to forgive me, I haven't played this game a ton, so I might get something a little bit wrong as far as their supply drop system, but they have something very similar to Infinite Warfare where you can get parts, which is basically salvage, and you get that basically just by playing the game, opening supply drops. I think you get it for like duplicates and stuff like that. And they've added completely new guns to the game, but once again, you don't have to get lucky and get these out of supply drops. You can essentially get these new guns by saving up parts. So anybody that grinds out the game and plays it a ton can save these parts and use it to buy everything necessary to unlock these new guns. This is also an excellent system and a great way to handle it. As for CoD World War II this year, which system is going to be best? Well, I would say it's unlikely that we're going to see weapon variants in World War II, just because I feel like they'd be limited by the historical setting and everything like that, and it'd be weird to add different like attachments or changing up variants too much. I mean, guns were the way they were back then, and there's not that much room for creative freedom. So I don't see there being variants, and therefore I would say that Modern Warfare Remastered system would be the best system for everybody involved with CoD World War II. Make it so we can save up these parts or salvage or whatever they want to call it, and as long as you're playing the game a ton and putting the time in and saving up these parts and spending it wisely, you will be able to craft or purchase any new guns that are added in the future. I think this is an excellent system because for those of the people that really grind the game a lot, they're really dedicated fans that don't really want to spend any money, but they want to play the game a lot and they don't want to get screwed over, they can get those guns for free. And for the other people that maybe work a 9 to 5 and they have a family and they maybe only have a little bit of time to play the game, but they have a lot of disposable income, they can just spend the money on supply drops. Even if they don't get the guns out of supply drops, they get these parts or this salvage, and with those parts or salvage, they can craft those guns and they'll be guaranteed to get them. I think if there's going to be a supply drop system, which, let's face it, there will be, Modern Warfare Remastered supply drop system is going to be the best for Call of Duty World War II. And I'd like to know what you guys think in the comment section below. Out of all of the supply drop systems that we've seen so far, which one would you like to see implemented to CoD World War II? Also, are there any improvements that you can think of off the top of your head to the supply drop system that would make it better overall? And of course, keep in mind that it does have to be a win-win sort of thing. Obviously, Activision isn't going to completely drop the system, and obviously they're not going to push it too far in our favor to the point where nobody will have any reason to buy supply drops, so there always has to be that balance with this system. If you guys have any realistic ideas to improve this system, please let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.